Hi everyone and welcome back to Jinkajabo. As always, thanks for watching. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about current news out of Madison, Wisconsin, which is a city where I lived maybe on and off for a couple of years, back in my home state of Wisconsin. And later on we'll get into talking about some very grim news out of Saudi Arabia. But first I wanted to talk about Wisconsin. It was brought to my attention this morning over Facebook, I guess. People that I knew who lived in Madison were checking in as safe, and I looked it up and I realized, this flooding is quite bad. Even reports of one dead. Linked in the description below, this article out of the Journal Sentinel, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel online, as Madison braces for more flooding. I have the headline blocked. People share news and photos on social media. It's been a rough week in Madison, and it could get rougher this weekend into next week. This week, on Monday night into Tuesday morning, the city and surrounding area received a near record-breaking amount of rain, which caused flash flooding throughout the city and its suburbs. One man died in the flooding. People were trapped overnight in homes and stores. Hundreds of cars were totaled by the floodwaters. Roads were washed out. So very striking news. I know there was always flood warnings, and my parents were pretty paranoid about the weather, I'd say, because back in the South where my dad is from, they don't have tornadoes and these big open fields like they do out in Wisconsin, and this flooding is really shocking to hear about. But at the same time, it's I've never seen more rain in my life than I have this last summer, and it being my third summer in Vietnam. That's saying something, because the first two summers were awfully rainy as well. And you reach a point where you just sort of get used to it, where before I never imagined that I would be able to drive a moped through water so deep it covers my legs, but you just sort of learn, you kind of adapt. And I know Hanoi, I know the street layout of Hanoi pretty well. I mean, even better than I know Madison at this point. And so I know the areas that can be flooded. But it's interesting, I've often compared geographically, Hanoi kind of reminds me of, I guess, Minneapolis or Madison, in one of these places where there are just lots of big lakes and low areas between, so flooding can be a problem. And periodically throughout the year, there are roads that just shut down, or places where people don't drive here in Hanoi, but it never lasts that long. The draining system, they've been dealing with this for a long time. Madison, I don't think, it doesn't get nearly as much rain, but it is kind of shocking to hear about. And I just hope everyone is doing okay. I hope people are sensible, and not driving in it, and whatever they're doing. I've heard reports of them bringing sandbags, and it'll subside. People will be fine, but it's just so shocking to hear that one person has died. And so if it's going to get worse, I hope everyone back in my home state stays careful. And, I'm just sick of rain in general. So I understand what it's like to be completely drenched. There was this span of it seemed like more than 2 weeks this summer, sometime in July, when it just started raining one day, and it just didn't stop. It just kept going and going and going. And it's like that great scene in Forrest Gump when he is in the jungles of Vietnam, and it just starts raining. But I don't know. I haven't heard of any fatalities from flooding happening here. But I'm sure it must happen somewhere. It's pretty, I hate to say it, but it's a common way of death in pretty much any country. It's funny, I remember in high school, actually in high school in Madison where this took place, my chemistry teacher, she would joke about this. She'd say, what's the most dangerous substance, the most dangerous element in the world? And we all thought about it, and she said, water. She went through the statistics of how water and drowning kills so many people. And it made sense, I miss her. I miss that class. I miss that school. It's funny, I was looking at the map of what areas were affected, and as far as I can tell, Madison East High School is directly in the flood zone. And I went there for only one semester, but I had a great time. I made so many friends quickly, and early 2000, well, it was Y2K, that's how old I am. It was a fun time to be there. And it's such a classical, old-looking building with onion domes at the top, and we would just get lost in the hallways. And it was so rude back then. This was even after Columbine, but like people would throw eggs at each other. Like I don't think they would ever allow that in school anymore. But I remember when I went there, there was this freshman egg throwing day or something. I wasn't a freshman. I was out of town. I was a transport. That neighbor's dog. Swear to God. Okay. I play my music too loudly and people knock on my door. But that dog barks all night. Anyway, I totally lost my train of thought. Madison East was great, and it's all flooded out. And I remember between Madison East and Sherman Avenue, North Sherman Avenue, where I lived, there was a train yard, and I didn't give a F. I would just cut right through the train yard. And there are all these signs, no trespassing, blah, 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 high voltage. There's barbed wire, and there's sometimes I would actually have to get up on the train, Natty Gann style, and go on the other side to reach Sherman Avenue. Anyway, just some random thoughts about Madison. I'm going to cut this short now. Hopefully that dog will shut up. Over and out.